Bring in show music, please.
Hi, I'm CNBC producer Katie Kramer. Coming up today on Squawk Pod. The future of finance with Circle's co-founder Jeremy Allaire in his first earnings interview since his crypto-native company went public.
The validation that we've seen in Circle and the sentiment around Circle is really about people understanding, I think in some cases for the first time, that the internet is colliding with the financial system.
Elon Musk threatening to sue Apple over xAI's position in the App Store recommendations. CNBC's Steve Kovach.
This really, guys, follows a pattern we've been seeing with Musk, where if things don't go his way, he likes to kind of sue or at least threaten to sue.
And contributor Michal Lev-Ram on the legal standing.
You know, Musk could have a case. I think what he's really unleashed here, though, is some real frustrations with Apple's AI strategy.
Plus, all that glitters in gifts to the Oval Office.
I mean, to move a gold bar, you need to put some
Have
elbow
you ever
grease.
seen the guns on Tim Cook? This guy has arms.
And a new head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics named.
You'd rather have one of our left-leaning guests on
No,
the BLS.
I don't. I'm not suggesting that.
You want someone perfectly right in the middle.
I want
and
somebody
who is that?
I want somebody who people
Besides
think
you,
is. And I
besides
don't
you,
know
who is that?
At a time when trust and numbers don't always align.
I think that crime in D.C. is actually down.
It's not. I don't believe it.
You don't believe it?
It's Tuesday, August 12th. Squawk Pod begins right now.
Stand Andrew by in 3, 2, 1. Cue Andrew.
Good morning and welcome to Squawk Box right here on CNBC. We're live at the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. I'm Andrew Sorkin along with Joe Kernen. Becky is off today, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on. Take a look at treasuries right now because we're going to show you the 10-year and the 2-year. The 10-year at 4.27, the 2-year sitting at 3.76, and then check out gold because it was down 2.5% yesterday. That was about its worst day in about 3 months now. The decline following an announcement by President Trump that the U.S. won't be imposing tariffs on imported gold bars. But let's also show you crypto because yesterday Ether hitting its highest level since late 2021. That's at 4,290 right now. We got Bitcoin sitting just at about $118,000, $118,449 to be exact. We're going to talk crypto later this hour with Circle's CEO, Jeremy Allaire. And that stock has been one of the great phenoms of our time. It's really the only way to get to buy from the public markets into stable coins.
Quickly on gold, people that watched Tim Cook, and we should have figured this out, that watched him give that gold bar, whatever you want, with the glass on top to President Trump. He very easily was able to move that.
You're trying to suggest it was not as heavy as it really could have been.
It wasn't, and it was gold-plated. 24-karat gold-plated, nonetheless, but probably hollow or...
Made in Utah.
Made in Utah, but probably hollow. But because we forget, I mean, gold, to move a gold bar, you need to put some
Have
elbow
you ever
grease.
seen the guns on Tim Cook? This guy has arms.
So
this guy...
So you're saying...
I'm just saying...
You're saying that it could have been solid, and we wouldn't know it because it would have been effortless.
He makes everything look effortless.
He does. I'm just saying that, and I think, you know, if it was a solid gold, you're talking about like over $1 million probably. So that would have, this way, you know, it was nice, but it's not like $1 million. Like if I got one, this is what it's like, Andrew, and I know you celebrate all our holidays.
I do.
You do Easter too.
Love it.
When you get one of those bunnies and you're getting ready to eat it and you grab it a little hard and it's hollow. And it just...
Yeah, and it just breaks apart.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. E.J. Antoni is on our show a lot. President Trump announcing he's going to nominate Heritage Foundation Chief Economist E.J. Antoni to be the next commissioner of the BLS. Our loss, maybe the BLS's gain. He's going to replace Erica McEnteffer, who just... You know, seems like a fine person, but that name every time. This is an uptick there, a lot easier. President Trump, right? First fired.
You don't say, maybe.
You would have said you would just. I guarantee you would have said the old BLS commissioner that was fired. That's how you would have probably gotten around.
That's how I would have done it.
One way, which I thought about it, and then I said, you know what?
Tricks on TV.
No one at home is going to know either way, so I'm going with McKenna, who President Trump fired on August 1st following a worse-than-expected jobs report.
At this point, I would have learned her name, so I say it.
I'm a little worried about, I hope the CPI isn't like crazy, because, we do have to trust these numbers. These are as good as it gets probably around the world, most of the numbers that we do generate. The president had accused the last BLS director of manipulating the data. And then when we spoke to the president, I tried to talk him into, look, the data's so bad and it hasn't been improved that there's plenty of reasons maybe to try and get somebody else to do it without saying that it was politically motivated. Antoni, by the way, was a contributor to the Project 2025 Policy Blueprint. Frequent Squawk Box guest. President Trump advisor Steve Bannon had been pushing for him to be nominated.
So can I say, here's my thing. I always thought he was fascinating to talk to. Antoni. Always enjoyed speaking with him. But one of the things that we always tried to do with our panel was to try to have different kinds of voices from different kinds of perspectives. He's a Heritage Foundation
All you got
guy.
to say is Heritage. Yeah.
Right. We've also had people,
from
Yale and Democrats and all sorts of things. And you want the mix on a show when the numbers are coming out so you can get the different perspectives of the analysis.
Right.
All I'm suggesting is when it comes to we talk about the credibility of the numbers.
Right.
And I don't know him so well, so I don't want to.
No, I think you're barking up the wrong.
But I do think
neck of the woods.
Well,
here.
I think you look.
Everybody's going to be somewhere on the political spectrum.
Right, but
you'd rather have if it's someone who leaned a little left. You'd rather have one of our left-leaning guests on the BLS.
No, I don't. I'm not suggesting that.
You want someone perfectly right in the middle. Who is that?
I want somebody who people
besides
think
you.
is.
Besides you, who is that?
He may be unimpeachable, by the way. I don't know him. I don't know him personally.
Well, I would assume he is from. That would be my default position.
That's your default position?
Absolutely.
That everybody's unimpeachable?
No.
That's how you start.
That if you look at this gentleman, we know him. He comes on. Heritage is a great organization. Just because it's right-leaning, I don't think he's suddenly impeachable. No, I don't think that.
I didn't say impeachable. You wanted to
suddenly impeachable. You're saying he's suddenly impeachable.
All I'm saying is Project 2025
that's what's got
is a particularly unique effort that is political. And that if you were somebody on the left, you would invariably be almost triggered the way you
There's a couple of things in there that would raise the eyebrow of some people, but a lot of it was sort of demagogued into some horrible thing, and most of it was pretty reasonable. I mean, yesterday, Andrew, I saw this crazy thing. If you're a Republican, you stand for this. If you're a Democrat, you stand for this. And I'll send it to you. We don't need to go over it now. But there's probably 30 things. It's just unbelievable when you look at really what the left stands for versus very normal things like, capitalism, lower taxes, legal immigration, voter ID needed, pro-police, border enforcement, all these normal things, and opposite on the other side. It's like, what type of political party would have that as a platform?
I don't know what particular graphic you're reading.
It just lists some of the things, and you've known this.
Yep.
We talked about Kamala Harris's positions, one after another. Even when I had people on that were backing her, I'd ask them, what positions do you like? And they went, orange man bad, orange man bad. That's all they could come up with.
I think that the point is you want these numbers
so you're talking
uniquely to be credible.
Right, you're talking 2025. You think that stigmatizes him because of
I think that 2025 has a political sort of triggering effect on large parts of the country.
It does trigger people.
Who look specifically at that as something that undermines democracy, right? Because if you really read that...
Because of voter ID and stuff like that.
No, not voter ID. It was sort of how they were planning to use this administration to try to get certain things. By the way, you're seeing it... By the way, you are, to some degree, seeing what's happening, for example, in D.C. with the National Guard. That's an interesting example.
Do you have a problem with that?
I think that crime in D.C. is actually down.
It's not. I don't believe it.
You don't believe it?
No, I don't believe it. I've been there. It's a terrible place. You're totally unsafe wherever you go. In the brief time I spent there, my car, within 8 hours, my wife's car was stolen. Someone I know that lives down there house was broken. I don't feel safe in any neighborhood there, Andrew.
But
Go into a McDonald's down there.
There's about
and see if you can get out without
There's
your...
about 5 cities in New York, all of which are in red states, which you probably, on a numerical basis, statistical basis, feel a lot less safe. Meaning your chances of getting killed in these other cities is meaningfully higher.
Not even close. And the statistics,
this is math.
The statistics, the way that I have no idea how they got.
Now
to
you don't believe the math.
It's much worse than pre-pandemic levels. There's homeless encampments everywhere down there. No neighborhood where you're walking around can you say, "Wow, this one I feel totally safe." Maybe Georgetown a little bit, but most of the places down there you do not. It needs help. It's horribly run, and this is perfectly within his purview to do this down there. And you know, police state, the way that it's, you know, the hyperbole that's used immediately to look at the, like USA Today claims, what was it, must rescue, in quotation marks. This is that's an editorial statement on the front page of this stupid newspaper, right there.
Right.
Rescue. It is, Andrew, you spend some time down there. You've seen some of the recent, I know it's anecdotal, but people getting beat up in elevators, congressional people, a guy gets shot in the head.
We have we have a whole bunch of friends who live in D.C. Who don't complain about this or don't suggest that this is...
I have someone very close to me that lives there, and it is a very scary place. And my car was down there for 6 hours on the Ring camera, and in Capitol Hill, Ring camera. There's the guys jumping into it, driving it off. You know that. You remember the car?
No, I remember what happened
in the last year.
I remember. So I get that there's bad things that happen, but then you could go around the whole country.
I think it's great that he's. I applaud him for and the issues that he's won on, law and order type issues.
But then can I just ask you this?
Yeah.
And I know you may or just may not agree. Then you go back to something like January 6th, which was a big law and order day. Huge law and order situation. Huge law and order, and everybody who did things that were completely unlawful.
That was a mob.
People who were chanting "kill." They're trying to say "kill the police officers."
It wasn't Trump himself saying that.
Hold on.
Okay.
No, he didn't. But hold on. Do you know that there's somebody in the Department of Justice today who was hired, who works at the Department of Justice, who was part of the mob, and during this mob, he is chanting, he's telling people to kill the police officers.
I don't know about him. I don't know about
He works at the Department of Justice today.
Okay, I've been over January 6th for a while. I don't think it compares to September.
How can you be over one thing
I'm over
and then say, we're cool with, we're all law and order? How are these things?
Because you're conflating something totally different.
I'm conflating law and order with law and order.
No, you're okay. So you had a single incident.
Incident.
Yeah, and the summer of Floyd was mostly peaceful.
No, I'm not. Hold on. Just let's stipulate right now. I am
you
not.
You said it no, I remember at the time you said this is totally different, and that the summer of Floyd had no way you can, because this is almost like summer of Floyd was like a just cause.
No, I did not say it was a just cause. I did not say, look, and I was never a defund the police person or anything like that. You know that.
Andrew,
know that.
Okay. How many? You're going to tell me like 5 people died, and you're going to tell me.
I'm going to say that you had
an insurrection.
I'm not even going to use the word insurrection.
Good, don't,
there was
because
an incident.
It usually starts with armed.
I'm just going to say there was an incident that was clearly a violation of law and order.
What's your point then? That the president who gave that speech and said, go peacefully.
No, we're not even talking about that. We're saying here's a group of people who did something that was clearly illegal.
And law and order. So then stop it.
No, hold on. And what happened?
What?
Every single person, practically, who was involved and engaged in that, either was let out of prison, their case was expunged.
Not a single person. Nobody
all
did time from summer of Floyd. None of those people even did a day. Half these other people that were, you got caught up in what going on. You were playing with Nancy Pelosi's laptop and swinging from the rafters with the guy with the horns. Come on, it was over by nightfall, Andrew, and it was terrible. And no one, but it's not September 11th.
You don't think the people who are engaged with that kind of stuff?
Not September 11th.
But you don't think the people who are engaged with that kind of stuff?
I don't see what it has to do with this.
Well, it's just the whole idea. No, it was more that you were making an argument that we needed law and order in D.C. And I was suggesting...
Baltimore and probably other
in Baltimore,
cities.
The crime in Baltimore is down by a third.
you believe these statistics. Have you been to Baltimore?
I have been to Baltimore. I was actually just in Baltimore, as it happens. Do I believe the statistics? I mean, this goes back to the idea of do we believe the numbers? This whole conversation began because it was about do we believe the numbers? Do we believe the BLS numbers, the Bureau of Labor Statistic numbers?
You can game the violent crime. I mean,
you can game the violent crime. You either know the person's dead or they're not dead.
You do know that Biden in the past signed a congressional resolution in 2023 to overturn the D.C. city's revisions to the criminal code, which reduced all the maximum penalties for carjacking and illegal gun possession. You reduce the penalties, you reduce what is a felony and what's a misdemeanor. Wow, look at how felonies have dropped.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
Well, it got a lot of eyes from the Democratic side of the aisle when he did it in 2023.
Well, it sounds like it was a terrible mistake.
To reverse the...
Well, you're telling me that...
Biden reversed all of these, revoking the maximum sentences. Yeah, it was a good thing that he did. And it got a lot of Democratic support to not allow them to lessen the sentences for serious crimes.
Right.
But that's what they were doing. You can classify a felony as a misdemeanor, and suddenly your felonies are down. The felonies are down 30%. Did you ever see The Wire or any?
Of course.
Then you see how these things are done.
You just think it's all manipulated.
I absolutely do, and I know that what I feel like in D.C.
What about the murder rate?
What I feel.
Do you believe murder rates?
It's not great.
Do you believe murder rates?
Yeah, you can see how many people die, but it's still way up.
You can see they're dead or they're not dead.
So it's down from really bad recent years, but still up from the pandemic.
No, all I'm suggesting is there are cities in this country, unfortunately, and it's terrible.
In red states?
And it's yes, that's where the highest murder rates are in red states. And my question is, would you then support the National Guard taking over those cities?
Wherever you need to do it, yeah.
Okay.
And he definitely has the purview in this city, where the seat of government.
Okay.
January 6th? How did you get to January 6th?
I love you, man.
You can get there.
Let's talk about Elon. We got Elon Musk. We got some big news with Elon Musk going on and Apple.
You want to talk about the poor Doge kid, the big balls that had the crap beat out of him down there trying to stop a carjacking? That happened last week.
Tease will be next.
Coming up.
Some people getting out their popcorn on this one.
Elon Musk threatens legal action against Apple. He's alleging antitrust violations over seemingly preferential treatment of OpenAI in the App Store. CNBC's Steve Kovach and contributor Michal Lev-Ram explain the relationship.
Apple has a partnership with OpenAI for powering its Siri and Apple Intelligence products, and that in and of itself is not an antitrust violation.
Squawk Pod will be right back. This is Squawk Pod from CNBC. Here's Andrew Ross Sorkin.
Up and Andrew, Q.
Welcome back to Squawk Box. Elon Musk threatening to sue Apple over the tech giant's App Store ranking for Grok AI chatbot versus OpenAI's ChatGPT. Now, OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman joined us on Squawk Box last week, and we asked him about Musk's comments that OpenAI will eat Microsoft alive.
You know, I don't think about him that much.
What do you think of the larger idea, though, that he's effectively saying that OpenAI long-term will eat Microsoft alive?
I don't even know what that means. Do you know what that means?
I'm not sure what he means, except to say that he thinks in the grand scheme of the partnership that ultimately you'll have more power, more influence, and more leverage over them than they'll have over you.
I thought he was I thought he was just like tweeting all day about how much like OpenAI sucks and our model is bad and, you know, not going to be a good company and all of that. So I don't know how you square those two things.
Well, we're going to try to square those two things with two new things that happened overnight. Some people getting out their popcorn on this one. Steve Kovach is here. He joins us now with the latest.
Yeah, well, Altman was certainly thinking of Musk last night because he weighed in on this comment by Musk saying he wants to sue Apple over those App Store rankings. Now, let's talk a little bit about what Musk is alleging here. He's saying the editorial decisions the App Store team makes is an antitrust violation because they promote the ChatGPT app in those recommended app rankings, but not the Grok or XAI app. So that apparently to Musk is an antitrust violation. Let me talk a little bit, though, about how the App Store actually works. There are these organic rankings, which is based on the popularity of how the apps are being downloaded. You'll see those in the most popular apps. ChatGPT usually ranks there, but that's just because more people are downloading it than any other AI app. And then there are a team of humans over at Apple who decide what apps to feature on a given day. You see this when you launch the App Store, and it tells you, you can look at this app, or some kind of cool little article or something about it. That's kind of what Musk seems to be complaining about. There are ways to get ranked, though. You can make a good app and make it very popular. You can also pay Apple to buy ads to be promoted in the App Store. Musk seems to think he deserves to have this kind of free placement in there. And this really, guys, follows a pattern we've been seeing with Musk, where if things don't go his way, he likes to kind of sue, or at least threaten to sue about it. We know, of course, he's suing OpenAI over the nonprofit issue there. He does have some good points about how that company was structured. He's also suing Media Matters, alleging antitrust collusion between a group of advertisers, because they pointed out, correctly by the way, that a lot of ads were being up against some bad content. So this is part of a larger pattern, guys, that we see with Elon Musk. Not necessarily winning on product, but kind of trying to win in the court.
This is not,
and he hasn't sued, by the way.
But this is not the App Store Apple tax debate, really.
No, not even close. No.
So, but what do we think is really going on here that's preventing somebody else from getting to the top of the App Store?
It's an editorial decision that Apple makes. So they have years ago, I met with one of the members of this team, and they really think about this. They see what apps are cool, what do we want to feature. There's no guarantee your app is going to get a good featured placement there, but you do get featured if your app is good. You can win in the marketplace, so to speak, right? You can make a really good app.
Just so we're 100% clear, you're saying the rankings.
There are two rankings,
right?
Okay, so there's the one ranking that's just literally based on how popular an app is.
Right.
That's not what Musk is talking about. What he's talking about is this group of people who decide they're like these recommended app rankings.
Right.
And that's what he's complaining about.
But when I go on the App Store,
right,
and I look at the number 1, number 2, number 3, that's, I hope, a ranking based on some mathematical formula.
Correct.
Is that not the case?
That's not what it doesn't seem like that's what he's talking about. Because then he just has to win by making a better app than ChatGPT, right?
But I think that's what he is talking about.
I think he's talking about the editorial decision, because there are recommended apps. If you look in the App Store right now, you'll also, just the home page of the App Store, you'll see some apps featured there.
Yeah, of course, they like somebody, they don't like somebody, whatever.
But that seems to be his complaint. His complaint isn't that...
He said you can't get to the top of the ranking.
I think he's talking about the recommended ones. So if you can't get to the top of the ranking, that's on you, Elon Musk. You have to make a better app that people want to download.
See, I thought, so here, top free apps right now.
Because
ChatGPT's at the top of that list,
right.
Top charts.
And that's based on how many people are downloading it.
Correct.
That's not based on...
It's not an editorial choice.
There's no editorial choice. Now, there are sections in the App Store where there are editorial choices.
He's running at number 5, by the way, at the moment.
Yeah, and that's pretty darn good, by the way.
He's behind the dating advice app.
We don't even want to get into what that is.
I don't even know what that is either.
A little bit of a sore subject, Andrew.
You don't want to get into it.
No. Do you know about this?
Do you know what T is?
Speaking of apps, where would my app be by now?
It doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've been building it on ChatGPT for him.
Shouldn't it be done by now? Well, ChatGPT 5 is super slow.
That's my point.
So 5 has been slower than I expected.
It's really slow.
And then separately, it threw me into GitHub with the code.
When are you expecting this to be?
What is the app?
I have my people. Oh, you don't know about this?
No, I know it's a Joe Kernen app.
This is the
you would want the opposite app.
This is the Kernen MSM Truth app. So what this app does is it looks at the day's news, and then it takes the most conservative view you could possibly take at it, and tells you what's wrong with the news.
It would be the anti-Kovach.
It takes the emails Joe forwards me in the mornings, and
you only got one.
Yeah.
Bingo was his name-o.
Right.
But I'm good if I don't get up there where it deserves to be.
You should sue. You should get on.
So where are we on this?
I'm like halfway in, and then I didn't give up. I just need to spend more time with it.
You've got to work on your book, you know.
I got other work to do.
Yeah, you do. Okay.
Joining us right now on her thoughts on all of this is Michal Lev-Ram, Silicon Valley journalist and a contributing editor at Fortune magazine, as well as a CNBC contributor. What say you? What do you make of this?
Well, good morning, Andrew. I don't know about unequivocal. There are definitely some really valid issues that Musk raises here. What he's basically saying is that Apple is giving OpenAI preferential treatment in its App Store rankings, and like you said, threatening to take legal action. As we all know, Apple has a partnership with OpenAI for powering its Siri and Apple Intelligence products. And that in and of itself is not an antitrust violation. But if indeed Apple is giving preferential ranking to ChatGPT, to OpenAI's product, Musk could have a case. I think what he's really unleashed here, though, beyond this potential self-preferencing accusations, is some real frustrations with Apple's AI strategy, which I know we've talked about at length. And I'm seeing a lot of posts and a lot of chatter about that and about, what comes down the road. And does Apple stick just with ChatGPT? What is its longer term strategy? And for those people who are paying for Grok or for Gemini or Anthropic or other models, they want to use their model of choice with their iPhones and have it be a more integrated experience. Right now, that's not possible.
Okay, so let's just understand a couple of things, because we talked to Kovach earlier, and he was making the comment that he thought maybe he wasn't talking about manipulating the App Store list. I think it's the App Store list, the actual rankings in the App Store that Elon is referring to. I think that's what he's saying. Yeah. The question is how you would do that. If you believe that list is not editorially focused, but is actually like an algorithm, he's effectively saying that somebody is literally putting their thumb on the scale. Or do you think he's saying that because of the relationship that Apple has with OpenAI and the integration issue and maybe the way it's promoted in the editorial areas, if you will, of the App Store, that they are able to boost it in a higher on the list as a function of that, but that mathematically it would get there, but it's getting there because of all of this extra support?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. It's really hard to answer, though, because Apple's ranking is very murky. It's a lot of it has been a combination of algorithmic ranking and editorial curation, which Apple is kind of known for, and there's been a reason for that. They would argue that it's quality, that they're adding a human touch there, just as they do with Apple News, by the way. So I think it's a really, really hard case to make. That said, again, it poses a broader question about this partnership between Apple and OpenAI and what happens down the road for people who do want more choice. And obviously, this has been a big issue with Apple and its App Store more broadly, like we saw with the Epic Games lawsuit and what's gone on with some of the in-app purchases and the lack of payment options, the high commissions that Apple takes. So I think it raises a lot of questions that are going to be very, very hard to answer. One of which for me, by the way, is Elon Musk serious? Is he really going to take legal action? Because what's happening now, actually, which is kind of ironic and funny, is that it's also unleashed this campaign. Lots of people who are putting in their reviews for Grok, for xAI's product. And if indeed that helps raise its rankings in the Apple App Store, then I think it also weakens Elon Musk's case, right?
Right. Let me just ask you one final question. I'm a ChatGPT user. I also use Grok. I play around with all of them quite regularly. What I don't do, oddly enough, is use ChatGPT through my iPhone that often. I don't find myself effectively leveraging that, and I don't find myself sort of hooked into the ChatGPT universe simply because I live in the Apple universe. I also happen to live in a Google world, oftentimes on my iPhone, as it happens. How much lift do you think the OpenAI relationship as it exists inside of the iOS on this phone is pushing people to the paid or even unpaid version of ChatGPT, the app?
When you set up Apple Intelligence today, you do have one option, and that's ChatGPT. There is an option within that setup process to upgrade to a paid version. So I do think that it probably is pushing some people towards that route. Not everybody is experimenting with as many apps as you do, Andrew. And I know you're vibe coding an app even, so you're fully immersed here. And I do think that for people whose introduction, What's that?
I said, so he says.
I haven't finished the work on it.
Very little progress.
All right. Well, we'll believe it when we see it, I guess. But, I do think for people whose introduction to AI, to Gen AI is really going to be through Apple, which is some proportion of the population, yes, it does lead them to that route, to the ChatGPT route.
We got to thank you for waking up early.
And watching.
For jumping in. For watching.
Yeah.
We appreciate all of those things. And yes, my vibe coding effort is not finished, but I'm still working on it. So thank you for the encouragement.
Be happy to test it out.
I don't have to take over.
Excuse me? You may have to take over.
I don't have to take over with the...
Next on Squawk Pod's Circle's first quarterly report since going public, the CEO of the digital payments infrastructure company, Jeremy Allaire, on what he sees as the future of finance.
When you have super high velocity, very high utility money, people are going to want to borrow that. And I think we're going to see very robust credit markets develop that are operated on blockchain networks.
And we're back. You're listening to Squawk Pod with Joe Kernen and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Here's Andrew.
Circle shares higher after the crypto firm issued its first quarterly report as a public company. Total revenue growing 52% over the prior year. Joining us right now is Jeremy Allaire, co-founder and chairman and CEO of Circle. And it's great to see you. Congratulations. I haven't seen you since the IPO, which I think has been, a wild rocket of a ride for you.
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple months here.
How have you enjoyed, this is the first quarter, so how did you enjoy putting this together? And I'm curious how it's actually even just changed thinking about the company, because before you didn't have to think in quarters.
Well, the interesting thing about Circle is, our main metric is available and its status is visible to the world on public blockchains in real time. USDC in circulation, the amount of transactions happening on our network. And so unlike most companies, we have real-time visibility into, fundamentals for how we perform. So in some ways, we've been accustomed to, people analyzing, looking at that. But obviously, this is much bigger. It takes into account the entirety of the business, the multiple dimensions, et cetera. The other is that, as a highly regulated company, as a company that has been trying to always be at the forefront of trust and transparency, I've had to take a public role, not just with policymakers, but more broadly, so people understand this.
Okay, two questions. You're growing 52%. Is that sustainable? And at the same time, we should note that you did lose money this quarter. Now, I know some of that was this IPO, but what does that look like to you as the year goes on? Yeah,
I'd say a couple things. I think the first is, as you noted, USDC in circulation grew 90% year over year to the end of Q2, and it's been accelerating. So since the end of the quarter to Sunday, August 10th, we've seen it go from 61 billion to 65.2 billion, and I think it's more today. But basically, we've seen this acceleration in transactions, and that acceleration obviously is tremendous. That's 49% year-to-date growth that we've seen in USDC. That's a fundamental driver of our revenue and of our revenue growth. And so when we look out, we don't give guidance on how much USDC is going to grow. It's sort of an economy, and you kind of see that. But if you zoom out and look at what analysts are saying, not just about Circle, but about the amount of stablecoin money that's going to grow, the CAGRs range from 25% to 90%. So an average CAGR is like 60%. We're happy to take the lower end range of that to say, hey, if we could grow 40% a year, that would be great.
That's huge. Yeah. Okay, but what do you think is baked into the cake as you look at your own stock?
Well, look, I think the validation that we've seen in Circle and the sentiment around Circle is really about people understanding, I think in some cases for the first time, that the internet is colliding with the financial system. And it's happening. And just like open internet software, networks and utilities change media and communications and retail and education, it's happening to the financial system. And stablecoin money is and blockchains are foundational to that future financial system.
Okay, so weigh in on this big, almost philosophical, practical financial issue, which is that for stablecoins to work properly, they need to be backed by something, typically treasuries. there's a big question mark about who is going to be buying our treasuries in the future, and a view among some that the treasury market is ultimately actually going to be supported for some period of time as a function of the advent of stablecoins, because more people are going to need to buy these treasuries to back the stablecoins, and that should give a boost to the treasury market. Other people say, maybe, but it's really just a recycling of money because the money is going to come out of the banks. And by the way, if they're sitting over with the stablecoins, it's actually less efficient from an economic perspective, given that you actually can't effectively then loan against that money in the same way that a bank could.
Well, I think a lot about these issues, obviously. I think first, the base layer of digital cash on the internet needs to be as safe as possible. And I believe that, the bipartisan policymaking, I think leadership from the administration has set in federal law that stablecoin money is going to be this very safe, fully reserved form of money. When you have money moving at the speed of the internet everywhere in the world, you need it to be as safe as possible. And short duration treasuries, there are multiple eligible forms of collateral for these, but it is at that short end, right? And cash as a kind of cash-like instrument. Now, I think the view that this crowds out the ability for lending to happen, I actually think is a mistaken view. I think that when you have super high velocity, very high utility money, people are going to want to borrow that. And I think we're going to see very robust credit markets develop that are operated on blockchain networks. And we'll see actually more efficient credit delivery with more transparency, more supervisability. I actually think we can get to a safer financial system with more effective credit delivery built on this new kind of stablecoin.
That almost puts something like Bitcoin in the permanent class of just a store of value. Because I could argue that you call it safe. Yeah, safe, except for the devaluation, continual devaluation of the dollar as time goes by. You're talking about safe for near-term transactions and absolutely safe. It stays at $1, but the dollar itself in 10 years is worth 70 cents.
Yeah, well, I think there's sort of
there's the two things you're worried about.
Macro view over the kind of fiscal.
But you could never do a stablecoin based on Bitcoin.
That's correct. I mean, essentially, what we see, in fact, as a major growth driver in our business is the internationalization of these digital dollars. And you even hear that from President Trump, Secretary of Treasury. We want to export these digital dollars. We want to put them in the hands of people who want to hold them and transact with them.
Right.
So that global demand is very real. And I think this is a kind of currency competition on the internet versus China versus other markets. And this is a technological weapon to compete. And it turns out also that people don't want to hold a volatile crypto asset in many places. They want to hold $1, right? Because it actually is significantly more stable.
It's still worth
it is actually stable.
I know you got to go, but let me ask you one final question. Right now, you are the only game in town as it relates to being a publicly traded company in this space, and you are the biggest game in town in the marketplace. However, there are a lot of folks who are looking at this market saying they want to be in this. Big banks, exchanges, private company, all sorts of folks. And so what do you think this industry looks like over the next 3 years, and what kind of market share will you ultimately have?
Yeah. Well, first of all, to understand our business, stablecoin networks are internet platform and network utilities. They're network businesses. And network businesses have network effects and create kind of bulwarks. And we've seen that. So liquidity network effects, utility network effects, and those have grown for us. It's been a core part of our strategy. And so there, we believe, very, very significant kind of, thresholds that one has to hit. And in fact, there have been many large companies who have launched dollar stablecoins, which are not really used at all. And I think establishing those networks and liquidity is very hard, and the infrastructure built around it is very significant. And so that doesn't mean there aren't going to be other new entrants. There absolutely are. But I think network models like we've seen in other internet software utility categories are winner-take-most market structures. They aren't necessarily winner-take-all market structures.
Right.
We, as I like to say, we hope to be the most of the most.
But if you're a big bank, at JP Morgan, for example, and you want to have your own stablecoin, I mean, just think about it. You could, the built-in marketplace that you already have is quite gigantic.
Well, the marketplace of the internet is 5-6 billion people, and the marketplace of the internet tends towards sort of open networks,
right.
And more of a software-like DNA. We think we're very well set up for that. And I think banks, what we're finding are banks want to partner. Since our IPO and since the Genius Act passed, the number of major financial institutions that are engaging with us in banking, payments, capital markets, so many categories has surged. And so we're seeing this incredible interest in working with us, including from some of the names that people have thrown out there as maybe doing their own thing.
Jeremy Allaire, it's very exciting to see all your progress. Please come back.
Thank you.
And that's the pod for today. Thanks for listening. Squawk Box is hosted by Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin. You can tune in weekday mornings on CNBC at 6 Eastern, or get the smartest takes and analysis from our TV show right into your ears when you follow Squawk Pod wherever you get your podcasts. We'll meet you right back here tomorrow.
We are clear. Thanks, guys.